Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes with myself, Michael Burgio, and Mark Novak. And this beautiful morning, we're talking about get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think
There's a beauty in that.
it just rhymes, it flows. And Mark, what do we mean by that?
I reckon after people realize that this is the new norm, that
Yep.
people will just start getting on with things, and that's going to be a real beautiful thing. It's
It will.
like I think particularly well, obviously being real estate agents with property as an example. I think after there becomes transactions happening more and more and more, after there's price stability more and more and more, I think just people just will get on with things and will stop abstaining from what they would regularly do.
100%. Like, don't get me wrong, there's always a transitional period when you go from one environment to another, and we adapt quite quickly, and then we start going back to the basics, because especially when it comes to property, Mark, those great fundamentals we've seen a great surge in activity and capital growth in the last 12 months, they're still there. Actually, they're better. Interest rates are lower, terms are better out there. There's more properties on offer, so there's better selection. Like, Mark, it's never been not taking anything away from the virus, but take out the virus. It's one of the best conditions to buy a property.
Yeah, you know what, Michael? It's like a body getting scared. When a body gets scared, the first thing you do is go and you hold your breath. And
Yep.
then after realizing that the scare was at its peak, and you're coming back to where you start breathing regularly, you start operating regularly, and I think that that's what people will start doing with property and with life. They'll realize that it's around.
100%, because the people who are looking at buying 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago, a lot of them that need more so than a want, especially when it comes to residential, they may have sold, they've got to upsize the family home, they've got to downsize. That doesn't go away. That's still there. The biggest thing is people just adapting to what's going on and then moving forward. So I think, especially over the next 1 to 3 weeks, people are finding their groove, finding their feet, and they're also weeding out the real estate agents who are not adapting to this, which will enable them to view properties how they need to view before they go through a physical inspection. So I think now which will take time for the consumer to find out which agents are adapting, who are doing your 360 walkthroughs, who are offering the video conferences, the video appraisals. Like, that takes time.
Compassion,
Sorry?
authenticity, compassion. I think there's agents out there. Well, there's industry people in industries out there that have been absolutely fantastic in these times, and I think that's what's going to resonate with people when these times are over.
Yeah.
I made the comment this morning to my wife Lisa, or was it last night, in relation to what Woolworths has been doing. The initiatives Woolies is putting in place all of the time. So now they're doing home deliveries to people that need essentials, that are elderly. Before they were opening up, and they're also opening up from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Like, these guys are coming up with, I'm sure that's what we see. I'm sure there's another 50 initiatives a day of what we can't see, of what they're doing to help the problem. I'm going to definitely remember a lot of companies and how great they've been operating under these environments now in the future.
Oh, 100%. And it really, it shows their integrity as well. And it should actually excite other businesses to find how they can adapt, one, help, but two, adapt their business so they can keep doing business. Mark, we discussed it yesterday, where we're putting together that plan to address any tenants who are looking to negotiate with a landlord. But it's not just showing that your turnover is 30% down. It's also showing how you're going to adapt during these times to keep doing business. Where it's like we're building that bridge, but we want to know you're doing your part, and if that's maybe changing a model where you may have been hesitant to do a lot of online deals, now you're doing online, you're doing home delivery. Like if you were doing retail before and you didn't offer delivery, and we know transport's limited for customers to come to you, adapting and now doing home delivery. Like there's millions of things out there that business owners can do and look to do now. And it's those ones who are going to excel. They're not only going to get through this period, they're going to excel at the end of it, because I believe they're going to be better business people for it. And the people who are sort of got their head in the sand, unfortunately, they may not be here at that time. But the main point of this is, I stress confidence will be coming when people are getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Just like we as consumers are going to navigate to people like Woolworths who are adapting to this time so we can still facilitate buying and spending, to some companies that are not. Buyers are going to do that with real estate agents. Who's adapting? Who's going to help me still be able to facilitate a deal in this time, because they still need to or want to do so.
And you know, like when I brought up Woolies as adapting, they don't need to adapt. They got a raging business at the moment. The adapting is done, whether you got a raging business or not. The adapting is done from good thoughts, good intentions, good people. So I think it brings credit to what they're doing, and what you're saying about, and what we're talking about today about the new norm, getting used to the new norm. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's a real beauty in that all the stuff that we're putting into place, that we're engineering, that all the way that's worked is just absolutely incredible. And I think there's a first move advantage, guys. I think that if you can, particularly if you're renting a property or buying a property, if you're getting into a new premises, I think it's actually quite smart, if you've got that long game attitude, to position yourself in the next week into your long-term position, because you're going to do it cheaper than if you were doing it in 6 months' time. So I would urge anyone who's looking has got a firm long-term vision, to put those wheels in motion now, because it's going to cost you a lot less, even just to get labor to actually do that for your execution, for your long-term execution. Now is cheaper to get property. Now is cheaper to get services. Now is cheaper. Now is the time to start spending some money for your long-term view, because it's the new norm.
Yes. And you touched on it yesterday with a great show with Lisa as well, and Steve, regarding the Keep Safe stimulus package from the government. Now, with what you just said, Mark, now it's cheaper. Like, now is a phenomenal time. If you needed, basically, let's just say you needed to make a shift in how your business did it, but you always struggled with either being too busy or not having the staff to do so. Now, to help with that transition, you can basically put the staff on that you let off, or you can maintain the staff with this package, which you can use that labor to help push you in that direction. Mark, go through what that package was, because you had a phenomenal episodic last night about this. But for anyone who missed,
it's already, in a couple of hours, it already got 3,000 views. I think it's one of the biggest ones we've ever done.
Nearly 4,000 this morning. I checked 3,600.
Incredible. And not to repeat that, but very quickly, the money's on the table, guys. The government has put the money on the table. And if you're a long-term person, which we all must be, and I urge everyone to think that way, snap that money off the table and get shit done. Because what's happening is the money's is in most places at the moment, the money's on the table. I look to the person to the left. I look to the person to the right. I look to the person on the other side of the table, and then we all look at each other at once. and the money's still on the table.
Mm.
Now, that's what's happening in our economy at the moment. It won't be long before someone goes snap and grabs that money off the table. Next person, next person, next person, next person, when they get used to the new norm that we're referring to today. So an example of the money being on the table is what we went through last night, and the government's put $1,500 a fortnight per employee on the table, and they've said to employers, we're gonna top you up to keep people employed. Anyone that's been terminated, we're going to top them up to the same thing, which is actually pretty clever because they've made each employer do the functions of what the government has to do. So rather than lining up in a queue and getting processed paperwork by the government or jumping on the MyGov website, they're actually enabling all the employers to do that work for them.
Yeah,
the
and
employer.
It's genius because they realized very quickly that Centrelink would not be able to cope with the influx of people. So they're just tapping onto the structure.
Their payment gateway is just, it can't cope. So what they've actually used all the payment gateways of every employer that had the payment gateways already set up.
It's genius, and they did that in like a few days. It's amazing the stuff they're getting through and how quickly it's implementing. Now those funds will come in 1st of May, and they will be backdated. So business people out there, it's a great time to use this labor that has been handed out and make changes so you can adapt and get comfortable being uncomfortable and do your best to survive, if not flourish during these times. It's what's that saying? When pressure creates diamonds. Pressure creates diamonds, and this is the pressure, guys. So we can either curl up in the fetal position and do nothing and have no economy after, or we can all pick up, stay productive, and get through this and help build that bridge to the other side, which could be in a week, could be in 6 months, could be in a year, but build the bridge.
And you can't argue with the fact that 2021, we are a better human race.
Yes.
Like, make no mistake, in 2021, our values are better. Essential. We are learning, and we have learned what is essential and not essential. Taking those values into 2021, we've really trimmed and made ourselves better. And I think that if realizing that we're not walking into a storm, we're walking into a better environment. So I think if you can take the advantage of finding this new norm that we're in, which is what today's about, if you can take advantage and take that first move advantage, yes, you're an opportunist, maybe a little bit of a capitalist, but you are spending money when no one else is spending money. That is going to help the economy. It is going to help the economy. So yes, you're getting the first move advantage. Yes, you're buying things for cheaper. Yes, it's opportunistic, but you're spending money. You're keeping people employed. You're setting up framework for the future. That can't be a bad thing.
No, not at all. What else was that? Okay, anything significant? So be comfortable, get uncomfortable. The package. Anything else you want to add on that, Mark? Any questions out there? Thanks for joining, Michael Edwards, Luke, Andrew Cole. Andrew, I'm going to give you a call today. I got your message, so I'll give you a bell. And once again, just want to urge out there, feel free to call us anytime for support, regardless if we're selling or leasing your property. There's a lot changing. And like Mark said previously, we don't want to speculate on policies or anything like that. We are real estate agents. We specialize in this, and we can offer advice in this and not question. I like we've touched before, a lot of people are spending a lot of time questioning and debating on stuff they've got no they've got no position to do so. So let's focus.
Oh, look, everyone's got their bloody opinion. I'm interested in people's opinion in their core in their core environment, what they actually do. So I don't really have a political, but I do know, if you ask me property wise, what should I do? And that's what today's about. It's saying, like, in this current environment, what we think you property is setting you set yourself up for the long term and get used to this new norm and take advantage of this new norm, because you are buying anything cheap. Everything you are buying, you are now buying for cheaper, whether it's an interest rate, whether it's labor, whether it's fit outs. Michael, you're getting a bit of work done at the moment. You fit out, you're buying for a little bit cheaper. Like, you know, it is, and that is helping with jobs. And make no mistake, your main costs are labor and real estate and rent, or mortgages. So it's a big topic for everyone's entertaining the workforce, but also property is the biggest asset class in Australia that affects people's sentiment. Affects people's core thinking. You know.
Yeah, 100%. You know what? I'm going to reach out to a couple accountants or planners. I'd really like to do a segment on. We're talking about a lot of the relief out there for businesses. You've touched on it, Mark. The super, the loans. I'd love to get an expert on there to go through in a lot of detail as well. So I'm going to try and liaise that today. I think that would be a great topic to talk about as well.
And you know, it's hard to get those people on camera.
It is,
because you hear the government statements, but how does that adapt to your life or your world or your business? And that's what the accountants actually do. They take that law, interpret it, and adapt it to your business. So having someone like that on an episode's great. Last night we also had a solicitor and an accountant concurrently talking about what's been introduced yesterday. So I encourage everyone to tune in there. Maybe, Michael, we can put that link in below so people can jump on there if they're interested. That was a really good understanding of tenants not paying rent and people losing jobs, what's available to them.
100%. And just that same thing, like there's no free money out there, guys. So if you don't need it, it's going to be paid back. That's the whole consensus with everything that's happening out there. There is no free money. It's coming from somewhere.
Just take what you need. Just take what you. It's that good old fashioned thing when you're at a dinner, at a picnic, and if you're the person that goes and eats all the sausages, and people are left without sausages, you're not very popular. So you just got to take what you need, because you're right. It will have to be paid back eventually by everyone.
Like you said, Mark, I think one of your clients made the joke that there's going to be council rates, land tax, and corona rates attached. Like the money's going to go back. So
we're going to be getting a corona levy in years to come.
Yeah. So anything else? Just closing off. Anything else you want to add on to this, Mark?
Any questions for any viewers?
No. Andrew Cole just made the mention. He goes, my mantra: do nothing, nothing happens. Do something, and something happens. So
well said. Well said.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll be back throughout the day, but also tomorrow morning for another live.
See you, legend.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Bye.